lessons that we can teach children and adults in order to create a more peaceful future. Hey, hi, I'm Angel. Thanks for stopping by my channel where I aspire to inspire you to always be reaching for your greatest, most playful self. And peaceful future is a big passion of mine, and so is win-win conflict resolution, or it's you know, healthy relationships are going to have conflict, and hopefully we're all engaging in some healthy relationships, and so it's natural that sometimes we're going to have to figure out how to work through some conflict. And I am a big advocate of learning tools and methods that help us work through those without violence, without cutting each other down, rather by lifting each other up, making ourselves better. So these lessons, I think, really apply anytime. It was in a book I listed as lessons to teach children, and indeed I think by modeling these behaviors in the home, we not only get a chance to practice them as parents, but it's the perfect way to raise children with these kind of tools in their toolbox as well. So without further ado, 8 lessons that you can teach children in the home, preferably by modeling them, but I think it wouldn't help to go through them specifically also at times in order to create a more peaceful future and now, really. Number 1 is listen to other people without using judgment. It's easy to be judging each other while we listen, and I think, again, with children, it's important to talk about that with them and then also model that regularly. So instead of jump into a judgment, it's one thing to just even listen to what somebody is saying, and then on top of that, to not be judgmental about it, so that people don't feel like they can't express themselves openly and honestly, especially in a family, but even just in the world, it's important to learn to listen to others without casting judgment. So that's number 1. Number 2, oops, I got those switched around, but that's okay. I'll just switch the numbers on them. Number 2 is express your feelings using I statements. Now, this is one that actually can be dangerous. I was just listening to a friend of mine talk about a conflict with his wife and her sister, and how upset she got because she was using too many I statements. So, you know, like anything in life, it's an ongoing dance, so there's no one way, there's no hard and fast rule all the time for the most part. However, especially in conflict, we have a tendency to point the finger and go, you did this or you did that, and that is a terrible method for resolving conflict peacefully, or at all. So it often just creates more conflict. A better method is to teach that when you're expressing feelings, especially if they're hard feelings, to use I statements like, I feel like when you do this, it might be because of that, which is I know I just went, maybe that might have been wrong. Let me reevaluate that a little bit. I feel hurt when you talk to me like that, or I feel disrespected when you interrupt me. That is not attacking the person's character, not attacking even the behavior necessarily, but saying how it makes you feel. So using I statements when you're expressing your feelings is a good tool for working through conflict peacefully. Number 3 is to consider other people's points of view and other people's feelings. I think, again, especially in a conflict, it's really important to take a pause and think about where the other person is coming from. Think about what they might be feeling, and think about, you know, the filters that they might have up, and their point of view in the whole context of what you're dealing with, the conflict itself. So number 4 is to take responsibility for your own behavior. Again, particularly in conflict, but all the time, it's good to teach our children and ourselves to own our own behavior. I once put one of my 5-finger mantra that I say every day is, I own my moods, thoughts, and actions. I used to say I take full responsibility for, but now I just say I own them. So that feels a little less wobbly to me, which I've been trying to hone in on. That's number 4, take responsibility for your own behavior, especially during conflict. And number 5 is to apologize when it's appropriate, when it's necessary, when it's important. And I have another video on 5 steps to a good apology. So don't half-ass it, and don't apologize when it's not necessary, when you don't mean it, because then that kind of cheapens the effect for us all when apology is really necessary. So I think it's important, again, to teach our children, again, through modeling ideally, but also with talking about it as a lesson, that it's important to apologize when you've done something wrong, when you've made a mistake or purposefully hurt someone. Either way, then you regret. It's important to apologize. Number 6 is to invite the other person to a resolution. If you have a conflict, ideally, before it gets into a situation where an apology is necessary, or maybe even after the apology has been gone through, it's a good path to win-win situations, win-win resolutions, is to invite the other person to work on to resolve it with you. So for one thing, you can't really come to a really healthy, in a growing relationship. I mean, can end the relationship and resolve it without the other person that way. But if you want to continue with the relationship, then it is a good idea to practice, to get in the habit of asking the other person if they would resolve that with you. And that means considering, asking them if there's is there a time we could talk about this, in the near future? Not just bombarding them with your feelings necessarily, but saying, hey, I see this issue that I would like to work on, that I think we need to resolve. Are you willing to meet me sometime, somewhere, and address that? Basically inviting the other person to a resolution instead of just either trying to force a resolution or just walking away and not resolving it. That's number 6, good lesson to teach children and adults for a healthier society at large, basically. And number 7 is to learn to manage emotions, to learn not to learn good self-soothing techniques, learn how to calm down, learn how to shift your behavior, learn how to manage your focus and your behavior so that, you're not acting like a terrible 2-year-old throwing a tantrum, or you're not scaring the other person by raising your voice or yelling, or you're not crying and confusing the issue with, emotions that are out of hand. And I personally have a hard time with that. I'm a pretty emotional person, and I'm still learning, but I think I've made a lot of good progress in the last few years of learning that when I'm learning to recognize when I'm feeling very emotional, and taking some time saying to somebody, instead of what I used to do, which was say, oh, I'm feeling emotional about this, I feel stuck, so I need to address this with the person that I feel is responsible for this emotion in me, or that is, that I'm having a conflict with. And that almost never goes well. It's what I've tried it a lot, believe me. And what goes a lot better is to recognize when you're upset or highly emotional in an upset way, and then go like, okay, I'm going to do something to calm. What do I need to do? Scream, cry, exercise, eat, sleep, drink water, whatever it is that I need to do to self-soothe, to bring my emotion level back down to a rational thinking level. Because when you're highly emotional, your brain really doesn't, you're in the, is it the limbic system? I forget now, but you're in your fight or flight system, and you don't have access to your big processing brain with all these great idea making capabilities and problem solving capacity. So you're really not going to be able to do as good a job at resolving a conflict or coming to an agreement with somebody if you're doing it from an overly emotional state. That's a fact. So now sometimes you have to, sometimes in the moment things need to be addressed. And so that's another basket of tools that you can develop, how to navigate highly emotional situations that you have to, navigate. But in many everyday conflicts, many of the things that we end up stressing about could be resolved a lot more efficiently and effectively if we took the time to calm down, shift our focus, manage our own behavior. And if we could teach those skills to our children, then again, we're going to be creating a healthier, happier society, and that's what gets my vote. Number 8 is letting go, not holding grudges. I think this is a big one that parents often do the opposite and really teach their children how to hold on to grudges and how to never let things go. And I do think that is one of the biggest detractors from our society right now. One of the biggest suckers of energy or creators of negative energy is people not letting go of stuff, including me. And that's been a thing I've really worked on with shifting my mindset. I like to say, like brushing your teeth or washing your ass, you got to regularly let things go. And when you have a routine of letting things go, whether it's through meditation, or I love dance and meditative movements, breathing, breath work is excellent. It's not rocket science, as they say. It's not difficult. It's just takes doing it routinely. And like any routine, it gets easier and more routine the more you do it. And I think that would be something, if we could teach our children to make part of their regular schedule the letting go of grudges, forgiving, and just letting go of transgressions, then that would make for a healthier society. And number 9, I know I said 8, but is practicing all these lessons in non-critical conflict. So again, as parents, we have excellent opportunities as we're raising children which is why I think this is excellent to point toward parents, because once you're an adult, if you haven't learned these skills, sometimes it can be really hard to go back and try to learn them, as I can attest to. And if we made these lessons more a part of child rearing at home and in schools, then I think, again, the whole society would benefit. And it's not practical to think you're going to be able to just use these tools all of a sudden perfectly when you're in a really extreme, high stakes conflict. So it's really good to practice these skills in low stakes conflict, just kind of, non-critical conflicts, like what to eat for dinner, or, you can help, especially if you have more than one kid, you can really help guide them through these kinds of steps, the steps of apologizing, and just, model in your relationships, as well as talk your children through these lessons. To review them again, they are: express your feelings using I statements, listen to the other person without judgment, consider other people's points of views and feelings. Number 4, take responsibility for your own behaviors, especially in conflicts. Number 5, apologize when necessary, and apologize well. Number 6 is invite other people to resolve conflicts with you and create win-win situations. Number 7 is learn to manage your emotions. Calm yourself down, self-soothe, shift your focus when you can't. If there's something that you're obsessing over and you can't do anything about it right now, think about something else. Don't rev yourself up ruminating over it and getting all angry and more emotional. Learn to manage your own behavior. Learn to recognize when you're getting escalated in your emotional state and do something about it. Do something healthy. Drink some water. Go for a walk. Do some exercise. Watch some comedy. Whatever works for you. Play your guitar. Whatever works for you, take care of it and manage your own behavior. Number 8 is don't hold grudges. Let shit go. You gotta get in the habit of routinely letting things go, or you're gonna have a big pile of chips on your shoulder by the time you get to be old. That's probably what makes people do that when they get old, huh? And number 9, bonus, is make sure and practice all these lessons, all these tools and techniques in non-critical conflicts, so that you have those skills well-oiled, well-practiced when you get into those critical conflicts where the stakes are high. that has been 8 or 9 lessons to teach your children and your adult peers hopefully by modeling, but also it doesn't help or it doesn't hurt, like I said, to if you're a parent or a leader in an organization, it's not a bad idea to make a poster about these, have a meeting about them, address them formally in some way, so that you know that your employees or your partners or your family knows that that's part of the culture that you're trying to build. If this has been helpful at all, please let me know in the comments. If you have anything to add or anything you disagree with, please let me know in the comments. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you think it would be helpful to anybody else that you can think of. As always, you can find ways to connect to me, ways to support me in the description. And until next time, I wish you peaceful conflict management, love and laughter, lightness, and playfulness.